Welcome in, everybody. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Jerry Hamilton. Jerry, live on campus this morning, up and about. Jerry, we had a bunch going on the 40 acres yesterday.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that and more a little bit later today. We want to say thank you to our sponsor for the day. That is Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm, each and every Wednesday's Coffee and Football, brought to you by our friend Adam Lowy. We'll talk more about that. Hey, Jerry, let's just start. You're down by Moody right now. Let's start with the Sean Miller press conference, if you don't mind. First time speaking before an audience. What were your thoughts of the new Texas basketball coach?
Well, I've been a big fan of the hire even before the press conference, and nothing changed my opinion yesterday. Look, he talked about some of the things we've talked about on this show before the press conference, before the hire was actually made, or when it kind of broke that he was the leading candidate. This guy's coming here to complete a career resume, and he thinks Texas is a place he can do that. It was great to see yesterday. He talked about the heartbreaking Elite Eight losses. You know, whether it was to the Kemba Walker team, where Arizona had the last 3 shots of the game to win it and none of them went down, or the Wisconsin game when there was a block charge call that went against Arizona that ultimately changed the course of that game. He talked about those heartbreaking losses. He embraces everything about Texas. He's well-spoken. I think he's gonna do well with the fan base at Texas. And look, he's coming to complete a resume. He's not coming to Texas with a resume complete. And I think he really is a laser-focused guy and is going to absolutely make the most of this second, he calls it final stop for him, second major coaching job. And he intends to make this his final stop. And obviously, if he puts in a decade here like he did at Arizona, he'll be 67 years old. And this probably will be his final stop as a coach. But it was great to see all the Texas head coaches in attendance that could be there. Sark came in after practice. Vic was there. Jared Elliott was there. Schloss was there. I mean, it was a really cool thing to see for Texas right now, where they're at as a program, the expectations. He talked about the expectations at Texas. A lot of former players that live in the area, like TJ Ford was out doing the network stuff with the San Antonio Spurs in Detroit. He couldn't be there. So, but the guys that lived in the area, Brian Boddicker was there. Chris Clack was there. Reggie Freeman was there. I mean, there were a lot of former players there as well. So I thought it was a great press conference for Sean Miller. I think the guy's going to do exceptionally well at Texas now. Now their hard work begins. And he said it. You build a roster year by year in college basketball. Now the tough part, the real work begins, because he's trying to make final decisions on his staff while having one-on-one meetings with the current Texas players the next couple of days, and then building his roster out for next year, deciding which high school guys he will keep. John Clark obviously wants to stay with Texas. What about his guys at Xavier? Richard Pitino Jr. was hired at Xavier last night, right? So what's going to happen with those players? But now he got the press conference was great. Now the real tough work begins, because the portal window's open. It's March 24th through April 22nd. A lot of his staff is not in town yet. I'm sure they'll be making their way to town here shortly. And he's got more hires to make on that staff. So it's going to be a wild 25 days for Sean Miller.
Jerry, I was not able to go to the press conference yesterday. You know, I was back making sure we had everything handled with the spring ball just completing. You were at the press conference.
Yeah.
I got to see a little bit of the press conference yesterday afternoon after the dust had settled on tape delay. I just liked how Sean Miller comported himself as head coach at the University of Texas. Very articulate speaker, clear that he's going to be able to get his point across. I think that good representative of the University of Texas from the podium at the very, very least. I mean, he seemed pretty polished.
Yeah, no doubt. Joshua Rain asked, is he a Sark Schloss level hire? His resume says he absolutely is. And he talked about it. He talked about how he's coming here to try to get Texas to he'd get to his first Final Four, but get Texas to their first Final Four since 2003. He understands what's in front of him at Texas and what the expectations are at Texas. And Thing about Sean Miller, I would say to people is when you take the Arizona job, and look, they had some turmoil there. He's the fourth coach in 4 years. You're taking one of the near blue blood jobs in college basketball. One of the programs I think he has the second most NBA players right now that he's coached of any college coach going. I think he has the second or third most right now. But when you take a job like that, that comes with unbelievable expectations and pressure. This is nothing he hadn't faced before. Now we're going to see if he can get complete his resume at the University of Texas. And I'll say this: I think the guy's a tremendous coach, and I think he's got a shot to do it. Now he's got to go out and get it done.
Yeah, I love the idea of hiring somebody that knows what the crucible looks like that the University of Texas can be, Jerry Hamilton. Because if you think about it and what they have there, guys like Schlossnagel's been in the crucible before. Steve Sarkisian, it was at USC. He knows what it looks like. And now Sean Miller coming from a program like Xavier, but by way of Arizona, he knows what it looks like to be in the public eye every minute of the day. Hey, we got a lot to talk about today. We got spring ball, the start of it. We had pro day yesterday. We've got a bunch of stuff. I also want to mention that Blake Monroe is having internet trouble this morning. So that's the reason he's not with it. We will see him most likely again tomorrow, as long as they can get that internet fixed in Comanche, Texas. We need to send the crew out there and get the power lines put back up. But anyways, before we get there, I want to say thank you to our sponsor, Adam Lowy of the Lowy Law Firm. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind, and think you might be due compensation, call Adam and his group for a free, no strings attached consultation. Again, no strings attached. Just give him a call. Reach out to him, loweylawfirm.com. Adam and his group have 20 plus years of experience helping injured Texans. Thank you, Adam. All right, Jerry, next topic we wanted to get to, spring ball. You and I were out on the fields yesterday, Dennis Fields, for the first day of spring practice. Steve Sarkisian was there. We saw Dwayne Aquina returning to the field. We saw Arch Manning, I thought, kind of leading the offense in a very professional way, I guess is the best way to put it. A lot of immediate reactions we had, Jerry. What are some of your standout thoughts as you've had a night to ruminate on them in an afternoon? What were some of the things that you think you saw yesterday?
Well, one of them is the same thing you noticed. It's pretty amazing that Christian Clark was cutting full speed in drills. I mean, it hasn't been that long since he had an Achilles. Now, was it a full blown Achilles? We're not sure, right? There's HIPAA things with that. But the fact that he was cutting full speed was really good to see. Then you go, one of the things also, Wardell Mack, first team at nickel. I thought that was interesting to see that he was first team at nickel. If you hear any loud noises, by the way, there's a lot of construction going on in the 40 right now. I'm watching them start to build out or starting the process with the indoor facility. So if there's loud noises, but look, I thought Arch looked really comfortable out there yesterday. I thought KJ Lacey for his first practice looked pretty good. Now, again, though, we talked about that. He's so comfortable with the system. Jeff Kelly, as head coach at Saraland, ran a lot of the same stuff. So that was good to see. Ryan Wingo looked really good at 216 pounds. Nick Brooks, second team left tackle. We had said that was going to happen right out of the gate. Second team left tackle. I thought that was interesting to see. Hero Canoe looked pretty good physically. That's one I didn't mention yesterday. I thought about because there's so much going through your head when you have a 20-minute viewing window. If Jack Boomeister can boom the ball, I would say that as well. Yeah. Jalen Gilbo was first team at corner. Opposite Manny Muhammad with Taff and Jelani at safeties and Wardell Mack at nickel. These things are going to change. Trey Moore is playing off-ball linebacker. They know what he can do off the edge. Lance Jackson was second team off the edge at one of the edge spots, along with Zena, who we had said a few times, Texas is really high on Zena. Bobby, there were a lot of things. But Justice Terry had a little minor hamstring, so he didn't practice yesterday. He didn't go full. But it's nothing to really be worried about. And the news that I think you broke this morning that Freddie DuBose is no longer with the team.
Yeah, Freddie DuBose no longer with the team. We noticed that CJ Vogel noticed he wasn't listed on the roster yesterday that was handed out. and we did some checking internally. And Freddie DeBose, young man out of Schertz Clemens, San Antonio area, entered Texas, Jerry, hurt with an ACL tear that he was recovering from. It never looked good when he was at Texas, even when he was rehabbing. But I do not know why he's no longer with the team. I don't know if he took a medical red shirt and or is no longer enrolled on campus. We didn't get that far with that discussion. But Freddie DeBose, the wide receiver out of the San Antonio area, no longer with the team. Jerry, the thing that I noticed, a couple of aspects, the young receivers are young. You and I talked about it immediately following. I mean, look, they're talented. Don't get me wrong. Jamie French is talented. Michael Terry's talented. Khalil Lockett's talented. Dalen McCutcheon may be the most polished of all of them at this point. He's talented. Okay, they're all talented. At least in practice one, they're not ready for prime time yet. You and I both saw the past skeleton drills and what they were going through. Short routes, a couple of drop passes. It's clear if I came away with one observation there, it's that, hey, these guys are going to need some time to marinate. Don't expect them to light the world on fire in practice one or practice two. They're going to have some time. Now, it doesn't mean they won't eventually get there. But the idea, like I will say this. Did you see a Ryan Wingo in that group yesterday that you felt like, hey, this guy might be as good or better than a Ryan Wingo?
Production-wise as a freshman, yeah. I think Jamie French, production-wise, can be.
Okay.
Talent, like the raw tools, probably not. But production-wise, I could see Jamie. Yeah, I think Jamie French is going to be really good.
Okay, got it. Yeah, fair. See, that's what I'm saying. But is he there yet? No. He's got a whole 6 months to get ready, though. August 30 comes a little bit longer, almost 5 months to the day, by the way, when Texas takes on Ohio State in Columbus. Other news and notes, Jerry, I wanted you to go over the offensive line. We're going to talk about all this. We're going to take your questions, also talk a little pro day action as well. But, Jerry, let's talk about that offensive line because you mentioned Nick Brooks at second string left tackle. Let's go over how the offensive line laid out yesterday.
Yeah, Gooseby left tackle, Neto left guard, Cole Hudson center, DJ Campbell right guard, and then Brandon Baker right tackle. And look, I mean, the interior of the offensive line is bigger bodies than last year, and we've been talking about that. I mean, Neto, Cole Hudson, and DJ Campbell combined are bigger frame guys for your three interior spots. You had Nate Kibble as a backup guard. I think he may work at both guard spots this spring, both right and left. You have Jaden Chapman as a backup guard. You had Nick Brooks as your backup left tackle. Andre Kojo, whose body's really starting to change, as your backup right tackle. Connor Robertson, center two, yesterday in practice. But that first group is bigger on the interior than the year ago. That's the one big takeaway. But we talked about that, not unexpected.
Not unexpected. And I think that I was noticing Brandon Baker when I watched him in drills, Jerry. One of the things that I noticed with him is he is it's hard to explain this if you've never really sat back and watched just offensive line play. For a redshirt freshman or true sophomore for his year, he is a highly efficient offensive lineman. No wasted motion, no messing around, none of this other stuff. And reality is, I think that's what's got him ahead of an Andre Kojo in some respects. He literally he's been that well coached from an early age that he's got just a little bit ahead of him. All right. Speaking of offensive line, we're going to bring in the man, the myth, the legend. Welcome to the show, Tony Hills. How you doing, Tony?
Man, excellently excellent, wonderfully well, phenomenally phenomenal, too blessed to be stressed. And if I was, Bobby, you wouldn't know about it. What's going on, man?
Tony, we were just talking about the offensive line at Texas. I don't have a question for you because you weren't at practice, but there were some offensive linemen working out at Pro Day yesterday. We need to go over that, as well as some guys that really did exceedingly well. Jaden Blue at Pro Day yesterday. in the 4.2s. Isaiah Bond, mid 4.3s.
Yep.
Texas, really, I thought yesterday, and Jerry, you and I can talk about it as well as you, Tony. I just think a lot of guys put a really good step or foot forward. Gavin Holmes, by the way, if you're wanting someone who may have a chance to make a team now, ran 4.38. Okay, ran 4.38 vertical, Tony, 39 inches. Had a 14 reps of 225. So he had a good camp. Tony, what are you thinking about what happened at Pro Day yesterday with a guy like Jaden Blue putting up a time below 4.3?
Yeah, I was there in spirit, but I was able to tap in with my brother Jeremy. He got me some good insight. He was there. Yep. And also, shout out to the UT social media team, man. They do a phenomenal job of being able to allow those of us that can't be exactly in the area to still be able to see what's going on. And so from those perspectives, I think everybody did a great job and put up a great showing. This is what I'll say about Blue and his performance. When you're in a comfortable environment, it allows you to relax more. Like a lot of times the lights of, Indianapolis and the combine and all of those particular things. Also removing the meetings out of that, right? The mental anxiety that goes into that, trying to make sure that you say the right things or, wanting to be authentic, but also knowing, which questions to address and which ones to kind of, push to the side. So it's all of those particular things on top of performance. In this particular situation, it's just performance. It's just me going back to the same practice field that I was on when I was competing with my brothers, going back to the same place that I was on when I was working out at them 5 a.m. workouts, man. There's a familiarity about it. And so now it's just us going out here and competing. And then we're not even thinking about the people that's outside of us and what the event actually is because of being comfortable. So it doesn't surprise me that he had that great showing there.
I got to say this about that showing, et cetera, and those 5 a.m. workouts. You'll be happy to know I saw someone yesterday that you'll remember well from those 5 a.m. workouts. Mad Dog was there, taking it all in, sitting around the 50-yard line on one of those benches, just looking at everything transpiring. That's the former strength and conditioning coach under Mac Brown. Jerry, you had something for Tony?
First, I got to give Tony a compliment. So I watched the show Ridiculousness and have for years. Tony, your hoodie game is keeping up with Rob Deerdeck these days. So congrats on that. But I've got to ask you about this. Your brother and I got into a conversation about his talent at running back yesterday with a couple of NFL guys that were there. I need you to break down Jeremy Hill's game before I get to any other questions.
Oh, man. I can only imagine how that conversation went, man. He's a fiery character. And I'll tell you this, Jerry, he knows his stuff. There's a reason why, all of these guys that are the top performers in the NFL that we watch on Sundays and Saturdays and playoffs and Thursdays and Mondays, right? Shout out to player safety with all these freaking games we play during the week. But Jeremy Hill's his game. He's a cerebral guy, right? But he also has I would say he has a natural feel for the game because of how he studied the game. Great feet. I think that his catching ability wasn't on display as much as it possibly could have. I think he had more. It was on display more in high school. And somebody just. I think from the football politics side of things, he just knew his role, right? I'm a third down back. I'm going to do this particular thing the very best that I possibly can. And quiet is kept. If you go back and look at his pro day, I mean, the numbers that he put up, I think Jeremy clocked in at 4.3, 4.38 or something like that. I don't remember his bench. I think he was in the high teens or maybe even the low 20s, maybe 19, somewhere around there. So he had a phenomenal showing, but I just think him not having the tape and quite frankly, he just didn't get an opportunity to show what he could do at the next level. But as it pertains to him being a running back, I mean, he was a good back. I got to give it to him, and I'm not big broing him. I have to. I'm being objective, and I'll say he's a big back. He was a good back. I think that for him, pass protection would have been something that he would have needed to work on a little bit more, especially with the bigger guys. But he was a pretty solid back. I'll give him that.
All right, so yeah, that's good. So now we can all talk trash again the next time we see each other. All right, so I got to ask you this. So Brandon Baker, the redshirt freshman right tackle, rolled out with the ones yesterday.
Yeah.
You've been there before. How fast are things moving for him early this spring? Because you have, he redshirted. Yes, he's been in the program, but still, now he's the number one right tackle. And that comes with knowing the guys right behind you trying to take your job. How fast are things moving? What do you have to do to kind of slow your whole process down in that scenario?
Yeah, I mean, for him, it's two things. It's the speed of the game and his thought process, his ability to take in information, digest what the defense is trying to do, and to be able to execute. So probably warp speed, right? The reality is that he's had some playing time, right? But when you get into some of that garbage time stuff, you're getting very vanilla things. Now you're getting ready to get the whole gamut. You'll get different looks. You'll get different stunts and twists. Understanding, like, if I have a tight 5 and a wide 3, all right, I know coach talked about setting vertical, but I don't just take the coaching. I got to play the game here. I got to setting 45. I got to set vertical here to be able to pass off games, simple things like that. Looking at safety rotations and understanding, okay, I got depths at linebacker here. We might get a cross dog look, or are we getting some pressure off the corner? Like, now all of the things that defenses can do are open. And so you have to be able to identify what's happening. And I'll say this with Brandon. Anytime you're dealing with a young guy, and this is what was given to me when I played in Pittsburgh, they was like, if you wrong, be wrong and be physical, right? So if you block the wrong guy, block the hell out of him, right? And so it's going to be a little bit of that. But I think for him, it's really going to come down to him just getting reps. Just get the reps. As long as he's able to get the reps, clean up the mistakes that he makes, and don't make the same mistake twice, he's going to be fine. All of these guys, regardless of experience. I know DJ's a senior. He's played a ton. Cole has played a ton. But at the end of the day, they haven't played together. So all of them have growing pains that they have to, get over. And that's just a part of offensive line play. It's going to take time for them to gel.
Hey, one of the things I had, and I mentioned this to Jerry right before you came on, is Brandon Baker, the right tackle that Jerry was just talking about, Tony. He plays like with no wasted motion. Very efficient. I mean, it's really interesting. I don't know if that's strictly because he had such good coaching early on in his high school career, or if he just naturally takes to coaching. If he can be one of those guys that somebody tells him something and then he does it exactly like they ask him to. You know what I mean? But I was really impressed with the young man. I was impressed with the offensive line as a whole. I think the front line, Jerry made mention of this, that center guard is going to be a bigger group this year.
Yep.
It definitely is going to be a bigger group. That should help inside zone, right? That's what we've all been talking about. That even though Jake Major is a 4-year starter, great player for the Longhorns, great Longhorn. Saw him work out at Pro Day. Hayden Connor, same thing, great Longhorn. They weren't necessarily those run movers. That lend more to start going back to inside zone, you think, this year? If he has a running back that can do it?
Yeah, man, absolutely. Because the reality is that inside zone starts with the inside 3, right? Like understanding the philosophical aspect of a run game, right? Inside zone really has nothing to do with the tackles. If people can look at it from this standpoint of a triangle, the tackles on both sides are the corner pieces, right? So meaning that we're the pieces that allow things to cut back. But as it pertains to the angle that we're wanting to go to as for whatever the run is called. So say we're running, inside zone to the right. We want to be able to cut off backside penetration to get the play going. But the movement starts with the interior. So if your inside 3 cannot get movement, then there is no inside zone. You can't run this. It just doesn't exist. And so to your credit, Bobby, as it pertains to what you're talking about, this year's inside 3 will present more of a formidable challenge to defenses because of the ability to be able to move people off the line of scrimmage. Now, where I think that they're going to have to get better and better quickly is going to be in a pass pro situation. Hayden Conner was a hell of a pass protecting guard. That's who he was, right?
Yep.
And there's a philosophy and there's a scheme for that particular type of body. The bodies that we have now, bigger bodies. I mean, I see these guys, a lot of leg drive, leg power cleaning, 300-400 pounds, squatting 500 pounds. So you see the explosiveness is there with these guys, and they play with a level of festivity that just brings my heart joy. So I'm looking forward to these guys going out there and getting some things done in the run game this year.
Hey, Tony, I think you've mentioned this before on Brandon Baker, because we have a living rent-free said, seems like Mater Dei has an elite OL coach because Cody Green, the tackle that we had you break down at Mater Dei, it's committed to Oregon, it's going to visit Texas, is a tremendous player at right tackle. I think LaCharles Bentley, who I don't think is the OL coach, but he works with those guys. Yeah. I think you've commented on LaCharles Bentley before, correct? Correct.
Yeah, no, he's a guru when it comes to offensive line training, for sure.
Yeah, because he's worked with Brandon Baker in the past, and now he works with Cody Green. And from what I hear, LaCharles Bentley likes Kyle Flood's coaching and development at Texas, and probably why Texas has a legitimate shot at Cody Green like they did Brandon Baker.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about relationships. If you're an offensive lineman and you're listening to this, if we can think past the bag, right? If we can think past NIL and being a celebrity, and let's look at what we want to be moving forward in the future, right? If we want to be one of the top offensive lines in the country and be a part of that, that's here at Texas. If we want to win Lombardi trophies and Outland trophies, that's here at Texas. If we want to be coached by NFL caliber coaching, that's here at Texas. So you literally have everything that you need as an offensive lineman to be one of the best offensive linemen in the country. It's not just about the philosophy of things. It's about understanding the game, understanding biting mechanics. One of the best offensive line coaches that I've ever had in my life was a man by the name, you might have heard of him, Bill Callahan. This guy, when I tell you that he it's like he was playing an orchestra. He understood how your body moved, what the play designed, and he would show you how you take steps to get to a particular angle versus how a Tyron Smith, who was a freak of an athlete, would take steps, or a Jeremy Parnell, or a Doug Free, right? Or Travis Frederick. Shout out to my brother Travis, right? And Zach Martin, who just retired. So, like, you have to be, as an offensive line coach, you have to be able to see the entire playing field, the entire board when you're dealing with these particular bodies. It all matters. You have to know what your guys can and cannot do. So I think the reason why Flood has had so much success is because he's a master of that. He's a master at understanding who his type of caliber bodies are and what these individuals are able to do collectively. And that, my friend, is a skill. That's not just coaching experience. That's something that is innately in him that makes him different than most offensive line coaches across the country. And then the last thing I'll say with Brandon Baker too is he also trained with I'm drawing a blank. The right tackle that played for Cincinnati that needs to be in the Hall of Fame.
Whitworth?
Not Whitworth. I'll get his name later and text it to you.
Anthony Munoz. That's even further back.
Not Munoz. No, he played in the 2000s. I have to get his name, but either way, he was there and he was coaching Brandon Baker when he first came in.
I want to get your thoughts on one last thing. Jerry and I were noticing this yesterday at the Pro Day. Hayden Conner, Tony, is working out at center for teams.
Yep.
Like in yesterday when there was the pass skeleton drill with Quinn and all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Just so you know, Hayden Conner was doing half the snaps. Jake Major's doing the other half the snaps. Do you think that's a good move for Hayden's future in the NFL potentially?
Connor Williams.
He did the same thing. Yeah, I got you.
Connor Williams. I never believed that Connor Williams was an NFL caliber guard, right? And I never believed that. And the reason being is because you have to, there's a lot of things that go into playing guard in the NFL. And you have to think of the type of bodies that you're moving in the NFL, right? But as a center, being a bigger center, it allows you to have help on both sides and to be able, and he's a very smart individual too. Let's understand that about Hayden. So he's a very smart individual. So it allows you to have help on both sides and to be able to solidify the interior of that line. Like bigger centers, like there was a center that I played with in Pittsburgh. His name was Justin Hartwig. Really good guy. Dude was like 6'5", maybe 315, 320. Taking nothing away from Pouncey. Obviously, Marquise Pouncey and Mike Pouncey are phenomenal athletes, probably going to be Hall of Famers. But you could just see the difference between the type of movement that a bigger center can get on a one technique or on a zero shade or things of that nature. Because, okay, although at guard it's one-on-one, at center you have to be looking as a defensive lineman what's coming to you from left or right. So it gives me more of an advantage. So I like Hayden at that spot.
All right, that's Tony Hills. Every Wednesday, we have him join us. Hump Day with Hills. Tony, I'm going to let you always have something to say on the way out. So the floor is yours, my man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a popular group that I think many would know, and they had a very philosophical saying, about when it's cold outside, right? And they said, "Can you stand the rain?" I don't know if many people can stand the rain, Bobby, but what I do know is it's 8:49 and OU still sucks. Hook 'em for life. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Have a good one, man.
Have a good one, Tony. Appreciate you very much, bud. That's Tony Hills, our friend that joins us every Wednesday. Former Longhorn player, 8-10 years in the NFL, Jerry. But when he talks offensive line play, everybody's ears perk up. I love your question about his brother, Jeremy, who works over there with Third and Longhorn, one of our friends, Nick Shuley, and those group. That group always do good
Owns Collective, the workout facility. He's done really well. But it's funny because, I covered Jeremy in high school, and I walked up to him. I hadn't seen him in a while. And he said something to one of the guys that plays in the league that he was there with. And I said, this dude was actually really good. And I said, he played at Elsick back in the day where you weren't running the daylight. You were having to earn every yard. And so we got into Jeremy Hills, the player, a little bit. Hey, Bobby, one thing we haven't addressed that we need to is Aaliyah Chavez to Oklahoma.
Yep.
It's a big topic of discussion here. It wasn't on TexasFootball.com yesterday. And look, Tech tried to come over the top of everybody late, but she'd already signed an endorsement deal with Nike. She was going to a Nike school. And we talked about this. And look, there were a lot of things in Texas' favor, but the one thing that was in Oklahoma's favor was the style of play. Look, they're in the Sweet 16. They're not a bad team. They're really good. And they're playing UConn in the Sweet 16 as a 2-3 game. But it's the style of play. They've shot about 850 threes this year. They average around 87, 88 points a game. And we kind of talked about, was that what her and her father, who owns a facility in Lubbock, were thinking was the best style of play for her. And yes, there's NIL components, and obviously it plays a factor. But I do think that that style of play offensively, she thinks really fits her game.
Yeah, and that's fair. I mean, look, you're not going to get them all. One of the things I heard is they tried to tempt fate a little bit with NIL. And I just don't – Vic Schaefer's not – I think he's pretty happy with his team and his roster construction from the young people all the way into the juniors and seniors. I mean, how are you going to look at Maddie Booker in the eye and not reward her with the sort of ability she has versus what Aaliyah Chavez brings to OU when you're sitting there in the Sweet 16 with Maddie Booker. The Longhorns play Tennessee, by the way, Jerry, this coming weekend on Saturday, I think at 2:30 is that kid. Hey, before we get going further, we got to talk a little bit about Pro Day. We got more spring ball to talk about. But first, I want to say thank you to one of our key sponsors. That is Perry Ricard over at Bluebird Organizing. Is your wife feeling overwhelmed lately? Does she consistently mention how she wishes she could find items more easily or how she wants to park her car in the garage, but there's no space? Maybe she complains about tripping over all the kids' toys. Are you, as her husband, feeling at a complete loss as to how you can help? With spring cleaning well on its way and Mother's Day just around the corner. Oof, I forgot about that. I got to get on that one. Give your wife the gift of a lifetime with a customized organizing session from Bluebird Organizing. Perry, owner of Bluebird Organizing, will come into your space without judgment and give your wife the organized kitchen, closet, playroom, and or garage of her dreams. Plus, Perry will take all donations for you at the end, leaving you and your family ready to enjoy the new space. It's time to give your wife a gift she'll love for years to come. Call or text 737-346-7779 to book your free in-person consultation today. That's Perry Ricard at Bluebird Organizing. Give her a call. Jerry, you want to talk about the folks over at Factor?
I will do that. By the way, I changed my angle, so now y'all get to look at Moody for the second half of the show. So, just made a quick little turn. I don't turn like a battleship. All I needed was a minute. All right. Factor Meals, great product. It's a great product. If it's delivered to your house, all the kids take it and it's gone. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. You can lose up to 8 pounds in 8 weeks with Factor Keto Meals based on a randomized, controlled clinical trial. With Factor Keto, results will vary depending on diet and exercise. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week, it's easy to pick meals that are tailored for your goals. Choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. Factor can help you feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfast, grab-on-the-go snacks, and more add-ons. Reach your goals this year with ingredients you can trust and convenience that can't be beat. That's it. You ready to optimize your nutrition this year? Factor's the one. They have hand chef gourmet meals, making it all very, very easy. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/Texas50off. Use that code Texas50off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code Texas50off at factormeals.com.
They're good stuff too, by the way.
Yes.
We eat it here at our house as well. All right, Texas Pro Day yesterday. We talked a little bit about what Jaden Blue ran, the fact that Hayden Connor also worked out at center. Gavin Holmes, I thought, one of the first oohs and ahs of the day, Jerry, and you and I kind of were standing next to each other at the time, came when Gavin Holmes popped off a 39-inch vertical.
Yeah.
That was like the first ooh and ah of the day. I will add this. One other thing that we need to mention, 120 plus NFL personnel in the house yesterday. It was loaded with folks, not just players, but by the way, 21 players worked out yesterday for the University of Texas. That's an unheard of number at a pro day for me. I've never seen anything more than 10 or 15. It was phenomenal. But look, what were some of your takeaways? How did Quinn throw, in your opinion? I thought Matthew Golden looked like $1 million. Alfred Collins had a boot on. I forgot to mention that. Other news and notes from that for folks to recall, Jerry?
First thing is on the Texas Pro Day before specific players. I was talking to an agent and a D-line instructor yesterday at the event. And the D-line instructor had been at 3 pro days because he had guys at all those schools that he works with. He said Texas blows away Michigan and Auburn's pro day just from the organization, just the way it's run. And I'm not trying to be mean to other schools. It's just what this guy said. So hat tip to Texas, Sark, University of Texas, for putting on a great pro day. Because, look, that stuff matters. The NFL scouts talk about it. The agents talk about it. Your guys who guys ready for the draft talk about it. This guy said, look, I go to a lot of these. He said, Texas, the last 3 I've been to were Texas blew them away. And so, first of all, great product by Texas. Look, the guys that help themselves the most at pro days, a lot of times are the guys that weren't at the combine. So we mentioned Gavin Holmes. Silas Bolden ran 4.38 for those that were running what he ran. So, look, those guys looked really good running routes, snatching the ball out of the air. So both those guys give themselves a chance through this. Jaden Blue's 40 time obviously helped himself quite a bit yesterday. I think Bond ran 4.34 as well. So everybody kind of shaved a little bit off their time. Jaden Blue shaved a lot off his time. I think Quinn was, 54-59 with 4 drops and 1 really uncatchable ball. So that was like last year. He threw out of his – we said this on air. In that setting, Quinn is going to be really, really, really good. He always has been. First time I ever saw the guy at Southlake on a Thursday practice, a walkthrough practice, the ball never hit the ground for 2 hours. I mean, it was never outside the catch radius. That's who Quinn is. So I think he helped himself yesterday, but you expected him to in this setting. This is really his strength. And he was really, Bobby, on point, deep ball. I think he had one underthrown deep ball, but he made a great deep ball throw to Matthew Golden, as you pointed out. But really, he was really solid yesterday. And it looked very similar to last year's pro day when he was just throwing to the Texas wideouts to me.
I will say this. You talk about Matthew Golden. I can understand. You know what he does better than any Texas wide receiver, Jerry? He presents a target to quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And even after they throw, like, he squares his shoulders and gets up and elevates if he needs to. I noticed that more yesterday in that pass skeleton than I did during the football season, right? You can actually see what he does that is just a little tweak that is better. It's a nuance that is better than others. So I agree with that. Look, a lot of news and notes coming out of that pro day. David Bendai, I thought, also had a nice pro day. 18 reps of 225. Looked like he ran well. Well put together. Alfred Collins was in a boot. We mentioned that. He did not participate in there. I thought Gunnar Helm, Jerry, had a nice workout. Yeah. He did not do the drill. He did not do the timed drills because he's still recovering from that ankle injury, but he did run routes on air with Quinn Ewers, and he looked really, really strong too.
And obviously Alfred Collins was out. He had a boot on, so he did not work out yesterday. He's been continue to be rising on some draft boards. But look, the other thing was all the current Texas players are there. Arch Manning actually popped in for a few minutes yesterday, which you kind of wondered if he did, or if he would do that, because to not take away from the guys that were there, because it's always, it is what it is. He was talking to some NFL personnel. It's important those guys do that. But we saw Brad Spence looked really good physically walking around. A lot of the players that we saw, Ryan Wingo, a lot of the freshmen go to that weren't in class. You saw Cade Phillips was there. Those guys want to take that in. That's part of coming to Texas, right? Is all that is what motivates guys to develop. When they see 100 NFL personnel around in Moncrief Newhouse the last 2 days at Pro Day, you think that motivate these guys whose number one goal is to be an NFL football player? Just walking around, the freshman guys, Cade Phillips, who what have you, they're walking around seeing all these NFL personnel, seeing the opportunity that's in front of them at the University of Texas. And that's part of what Sark recruits to.
Oh, it was hilarious. Talk about being motivated. So I had to hop on a plane last night to come back from Austin, right? And literally the Austin airport was littered with NFL personnel.
Yep.
They're all going to the Ohio State. Like, a couple of them were flying back through different ways. They're all going to Ohio State today, by the way.
Yes.
So Texas in today's Ohio State. So we'll see how that all goes. Quinn Ewers met with the Dolphins yesterday, immediately following Pro Day. I thought that was interesting. So a lot of teams showing interest in a lot of different players. Gunnar Helm met with the Texans yesterday morning, for example. I saw his dad out there. I also want to say this. We have officially invited, Jerry, you and I both.
Yes.
We met Barry Sorrell, who's often in our chat. That is the dad of Barron Sorrell. We met Barron's mom and dad yesterday, and we have officially invited Barry Sorrell to come join us one morning on Coffee and Football. You can tell, I'm just going to say this, you can tell the apple probably doesn't fall far from the tree with Barry Sorrell. Dad's a solid guy, was a fun guy. Barry, if you're still out there, come hang out with us one morning on Coffee and Football. We'd love to have you.
And what a proud day for the family. I mean, look, the NFL draft is still to come for these guys. But just like, look, Barron Sorrell growing up, right? He's absolutely about to live out his dream. Now, I think he also had academic dreams. You're not committed to Northwestern, then decommit and go to Texas, right? You have academic dreams too. But so cool for all the families that were there yesterday because their kids are living out their dream right now. And I mean, as parents, that's kind of all you want, right? I mean, you want your kids to be able to live out their dream, have a purpose in life and go chase it. And so for all the families, that was really Really cool to see yesterday, and it's been cool to see for a while. The other thing is, Bobby, I noticed yesterday, more than the personnel, there were more agents running around there than there were a year ago. I noticed more agents and agencies yesterday than a year ago. I don't know about yourself.
And Texas has guys that are.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, they've got guys running through their veins right now. All right, we're going to get back to just general talk here a little bit. There's a lot of questions coming in, and Jerry and I are going to try to take those on starting right now. Let's start with this one from Drew Lockhart. Jerry, morning, Bobby. Is Zealous Hicks really 20 pounds larger than Jordan Johnson-Rebel? You had stated yesterday. Did you mean now or when he got to campus? I don't know if he's 20 pounds larger. Yeah. He looks it, though. He is much thicker than Jordan Johnson-Rebel naturally. He's going to be what's Jordan Johnson-Rebel? 6 foot, Jerry?
Yeah.
Zealous Hicks is going to be 6'2", 6'2 and a half, and going to be 215, 225 pretty naturally, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He is more built like, I'll put it this way, okay? Jordan Johnson-Rebel is more built like Andrew Makuba.
Yes.
Zealous Hicks is built more like Derek Williams.
Yes.
Does that, if that gives you a mental picture of what I'm talking about? And by the way, Andrew Makuba can still be the better player, right? That doesn't, I'm not trying to take away who the player is, but physically, if you're really noticing them, Drew, it's that kind of intimidating looking presence back there a little bit that Zealous Hicks has. Fair? Is that fair, Jerry?
Yeah. Somebody said they thought JJR was 5'9". I'd say 5'10" and a half, guys. I think he's a little taller than that.
Okay, gotcha. Mandy Myers, Jerry, said she loved the Sean Miller press conference.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about this early. What was it specifically that you liked, if there was one piece? Because my point, I like when coaches can get up there and articulate their plan, be straightforward, not use a bunch of coach speak.
Yeah.
And just lay it out. And then they can go get to work. It eliminates the outside noise from paying any kind of or keeping them from doing what they need to do and what they need to accomplish at Texas. It just cancels out the white noise. What do you think? What did you like about Sean Miller yesterday?
That he's motivated like Sark is. That he knows he wants to complete his resume. And in college basketball, for a lot of guys, that's a Final Four. But look, he wants to get to a Final Four. But I think he would love to try to bring Texas its first national championship. And that's a hard thing to do in college basketball. There's a reason Texas has never won it. It's a hard thing to do. But I just think he's very motivated like Sark is motivated. And that is one of the things that I'd heard, but it kind of came through yesterday for me is, when he talks about the Elite Eight losses he had at Arizona and you see how it affects him, those guys are really motivated. And Texas needs a coach, like to me in basketball, that's really, really motivated. And I think Chris Beard was. He wanted to win that first national championship, right? He got close at Texas Tech, and he wanted to do it at Texas. He messed it up. That's on him. But look, I think Sean Miller shares a similar motivation with Steve Sarkisian. Now, you can put Schloss in that too, because the thing is, when these coaching jobs are open, everybody's like, oh, go get Nick Saban, go get Bill Self, and go get whoever. But you realize all three of the major coaches at Texas have never won a national championship as a head coach. They're all going for the same thing. And in basketball, you got to get to the Final Four first. I think he shares a similar motivation to Sark, and I absolutely love it outside of everything he said.
I think he has a redemptive path to him like Sark did. Sark left USC in bad circumstances. I mean, he would tell you that and owns it to this day. There's something about the redemptive path. Sean Miller did not leave Arizona the right way, in his opinion. And so now he's got this second chance or this second lease on an opportunity at a really high level program. Those guys, at least with Steve Sarkisian, he's taking advantage of it. Hopefully, Sean Miller does the same. Edgar Padilla, morning OTF. when there's so much talent on campus, how do coaches drill down another layer to find contributors and develop
Great
talent?
question.
Feels like this much talent can be a blessing and a curse. Hook 'em. Thanks,
Man,
Eddie.
that's a great question. That's
Yeah.
a great question.
I'll say this, and CJ Vogel made a really, really good point yesterday, guys. CJ said that just from his recollection and his awareness, that he had never seen, Jerry, as many coaches on the field as he did yesterday. The secondary, for example, literally had 4 and 5 coaches on the field and 3 and 4 players at each position.
Yeah.
So the coach to player ratio was much, much more hands-on. And that is, frankly, a very OTA NFL level of treatment of players where they're getting a lot more hands-on with individual coaching. I think that's what they're going for, Edgar. What you have anything to add there, Jerry?
Yeah. So to his question, I'll tell you what matters. First, look, these guys are in the office at 5, 6 in the morning, right? Some of them get in at 4:45 in the morning. It matters if you're at a competition. Do you think it didn't matter for Chris Jackson and Sark that DeAndre Moore is the first guy on the field every day for practice? He walked over from Newhouse to the practice facility. He was the first guy there every morning. We had an open media window. That stuff matters. Look, we talk about all the time in recruiting rankings. The difference between a guy ranked 50 and 150, what is it? A lot of times it's who's going to maximize their talent at the end of the day. It's not that different. There's the freaks that are ranked really high that literally have to have major injury, do something stupid off the field not to make it. That's just reality. But then you get to your guys after that, and these are small margins. And, you know, look, who's great in film room? Who's a great teammate? Who shows leadership? I mean, with as much talent as there is at Texas right now, who's doing all the little things? And I think Tony Hills would echo this statement. Who's doing the little things? If you come to Texas at a school like Texas with this much talent and you understand what the coaches are looking for and you understand how to maximize your talent, and maximizing your talent's not just in the weight room. It's not just what you do on the field. It's everything all encompassing to being the best football player you can be. And the guys that do the little things, and it can't be show up and do the little things early and try to fool people a little bit. It's every single day. It's when it's not during the season. It's when it's the months leading up to spring practice. After spring practice is over, it's going to be the months before August in the season. Who does the little things every day? The guys that do that will always have opportunity with a coaching staff. In any sport, that will never change in athletics at a high school level, college level, or pro level. It just will never change.
Hey, Tony Hills wrote back to us to let us know the offensive lineman he was thinking about. Willie Anderson, the former Auburn Tiger, worked with Brandon Baker as well out west in Southern California. That's who Tony was thinking about as well. All right, before we move forward with more questions, it's 4:20 somewhere. You're up next, actually, with your questions as well. We need to tell people about Huel. They are one of our sponsors today. Huel is one of those meal replacement pieces that tastes great. It's for something that's for you if it's convenient and need no look. I'm messing this ad read up altogether. Let's just start over. This is where Blake is supposed to be here and helping us out. Blake's unfortunately missing it because of some connectivity issues in Comanche, Texas today. But if you're looking for something that is good for you, convenient, and tastes great, look no further than Huel. Huel's Black Edition, ready to drink, is a meal in a bottle. It is perfectly balanced meal designed by nutrition experts, and it takes the guesswork out of healthy eating. One bottle contains 35 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals, and every flavor is low in sugar. Speaking of flavors, there's definitely one for everyone to enjoy. They offer 4 great tasting varieties: iced coffee, vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry banana. Unlike a lot of nutrition drinks, each flavor tastes good. With no prep and no cooking, Huel is perfect for those with active and busy lifestyles. Just grab one out of the fridge and you're good to go. New customers, visit Huel.com/OnTexas today. That's HUEL.com/OnTexas and use code OnTexas to get 15% off your first order plus a free gift. Again, that's Huel.com/OnTexas to get 15% off that first order and get a free gift. Woo! Sometimes the ad reads just get me, Jerry. They just do.
You rallied. You rallied.
I tried, buddy. It's 4:20 somewhere. What players do you think helped themselves the most yesterday during the pro day? Did anyone hurt their value? Let's start with help. Based on what I saw, I thought Gunnar Helm did what he does best. And what I mean by that, he's a very fluid mover. And he snatches the ball very cleanly. And that setting, more so than running the gauntlet drill at the combine, is going to play more to his strengths. I think Jade Blue, in some respects, showed he had more speed than maybe what he showed at the combine. It was revealed, he told CJ Vogel that he had a slight groin pull at the combine. He ran a 4.38 with a slight groin pull. Let's get real. So he ran in the 4.2s yesterday. I will add this, though. Jaden Blue only had a 29.5-inch vertical, which, that's a weird miss. Yeah. The other person I thought probably helped themselves quite a bit was Isaiah Bond.
Yeah.
He looked healthy. He looked fast. He had good hands on the day, all of those things. So that would say hurt their value. Anybody in that regard for you, Jerry? I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know. You're on a pedestal to succeed in these things. It's hard to hurt your value.
I don't know if it hurt value, but since Alfred Collins was in a boot, he didn't have a chance to improve on maybe broad jump, some of his numbers. But I don't think it really hurts him because his tape was really good this year against really good competition.
All right, we're getting back to y'all's questions here at On Texas Football's Coffee and Football Wednesday morning edition. Hope everybody's having a good hump day. R. Charnell, Jonah Williams getting an at-bat last night. He K'd, he struck out, but glad to see him swinging.
Oh, he's going down swinging. Look, if you know Jonah at all, he's very aggressive. That's why I think he may fearless. So I think he may be up for punt return next year, competing with Ryan Wingo, who's first out for punt return. We didn't mention that yesterday, which I actually didn't like that. So not that I'm sitting here disagreeing. I'm 0-0, but boy, that's a lot of long legs to get hit as a punt returner. But Jonah Williams, he's going down swinging now. If you haven't seen him, he is aggressive. He is a physical guy. He is a confident guy. So it was great to see him get his first college at bat last night, and he responded on social media as you would think he would. Not at spring practice yesterday, but when I got in town Monday afternoon, he was actually coming out of the facility, sitting in on meetings. He's just not taking part in practice and football practice, but he is very much a part of the meetings, sitting down in those meetings with Dwayne Akina in the secondary. So just so Texas fans know that that's been the plan all along, and that's what he's doing.
Baseball did beat Sam Houston State in 7 innings yesterday. Women's softball beat SFA. What was it, 11-3 or something like that? Both teams continue to be among the nation's best.
Yeah.
If not, I mean, softball is just having an amazing year right now under Mike White. So those two teams continue to trek on. We mentioned just real briefly, Texas plays Tennessee in women's basketball Sweet 16 Saturday at 2:30, Jerry.
Yeah.
So be aware of that, folks. Have your if you get a chance to, and you're lounging around on Saturday, make sure you watch a little women's basketball as well. All right, next question. This one from Chris Weatherford, or comment actually. I would say Christian Clark cutting on a dime after the Achilles injury is good to see. Jerry, you and I, we had a whole conversation.
That's not what I expected yesterday, by the way.
No, I was like, wait a minute. That's number 6. How is Christian Clark out here?
He's a fast healer. That's a good place to be in life.
Yeah. Fast healer is definitely good. But I thought that I mean, he was cutting violently.
Yeah.
That's what was surprising. I mean, it wasn't so much, oh, he's out there gingerly walking around or something like that. He was cutting violently. And I will say this, he was making a move last year prior to the injury.
No doubt.
There was some thought that he might move ahead of Jarrett Gibson back then. We'll see if this gives him an opportunity to be in that, because I do think he might be an answer at Texas for inside
short yardage, red zone. Like, he was my pick to be the goal line back last year before he got
inside zone too, Jerry.
That's his deal. Now he's a violent cutter too. He is. He will stick his foot in the ground and jump cut and skip cut, but with his frame and obviously his mentality showed up yesterday. That guy obviously he does every time he steps on, makes a step, it's got purpose. And for him to cut like that yesterday, it was a great point that person made. That was just not expected by either one of us. And if he remains healthy, I think he will add to Texas a lot to this Texas team, whether it be inside zone, whether it be short yardage, whether it be red zone, because it's a mentality and it's a body frame thing, and his ability to cut and be explosive out of that cut vertically.
Just a dude. Did Quinn and Gunner run? Got 40 times for us. Neither ran. Just a dude. They just did they participated in the ball drills, which was basically a pass skeleton drill. So neither of those guys ran 40s. I will say this: they're selective about what they participate in.
Yeah.
At those events, and rightfully so, especially if they already have marks that they're okay with. Gunner wasn't going to run because, frankly, there's no reason for him to run. He could have perhaps ran a better 40, but I just don't think that's going to matter. What I thought he did well yesterday is showcase what he does really well. And that's what I was. He is a fluid pass catcher, a fluid mover. And I thought that teams that were watching him, I mean, if the Kansas City Chiefs would be a perfect place for Gunnar Helm. I'll just put it that way. Horn 7, is this a championship team or a work in progress at this point? It's always a work in progress.
Every coach, every team would be. Yep.
Yeah, but I think you understand a little bit deeper what he's asking here.
Yeah.
Jared. You think it's the championship team off the bat or work in progress?
I think work in progress for every team. Like, there's not going in the last year, Ohio State had so many older players back, right? Guys that passed up NFL draft to come back. I'm not sure there is that team in college football right now going into next year. So I think everybody's a work in progress. A lot of people have first-year starting quarterbacks, new quarterbacks, a lot of new pieces. Texas, talent-wise, can they be a championship team? Sure, when you think about what they'll probably add in the portal this spring, which they will add. They're looking at one more D lineman if he's a disruptor, potentially a wide receiver, potentially a tight end. We'll see what other positions. So there's still needs out there for Texas, but knowing what they've done in the portal and what they will likely do in the portal if those types of talents present themselves that they need, yeah, could Texas be that? They have that much talent, Bobby. I mean, a lot of it's going to come down to new offensive line, new quarterback, and new receivers at the same time, outside of Moore, obviously, who's out for the spring, and Ryan Wingo. So tight end, how all that comes together for them. But do they have the talent? Yeah, they have the talent. I don't have any doubt about that.
I would say this. I think they're more a work in progress today than they are a championship team because of exactly what Jerry just talked about. Their quarterback has to get some time under center and in games. The offensive line has to kind of coalesce, et cetera. I mean, they need another receiver, in my opinion, to come on that's a little bit older. So I feel like they're closer to a work in progress as a description than they are a championship team right now. Not unsuspected. A couple of quick questions, or one quick question here. Who is the starting center right now? Is it Daniel Cruz? Starting center right now is Cole Hudson, who's making the move over from right guard. That leaves DJ Campbell as right guard. Left guard, really a battle a little bit, but Nato Umeozulu is the leader right now. over Nate Kibble. Kibble, by the way, could be the backup at both left guard and right guard. Young, promising player right now for the Longhorns.
By the way, so center, I actually think this spring, the deepest and I said this last year too, it's the deepest as I've ever seen it at Texas. And, the thing about Cole Hudson, I'll never forget about Cole when I was at Frisco High, when I went to see him when he was committed to Texas. He's one of the few players, and Daniel Cruz was like this too. He's one of the few players that said, I want to play center. And because I asked Cole, I was like, what do you see yourself at? Because, in high school, you play tackle. You may, play some guard when you're younger.
You're the best player. You're the best player on the line. Yeah.
And he said, I want to play center. And I always stuck in the back of my mind. I've mentioned it on this show a few times before, but it's very rare when somebody says they want to play center. That's like the guard that says, I want to play the 4. It's a 6'7" wing guy that's really a 4 that wants to play the wing. You say, I'll actually play the 4. There's very few people that actually say, I want to play center. That shows you he's a very smart guy, because he knows, one, it gives him versatility. And 2, if you want a career in football, Hayden Conner was snapping yesterday. The ability to play center is a real skill that can help you elongate your football career. But I think Texas center position is extremely strong. It was last year from a depth perspective to sustain injuries. I think this year, too, you have Cole Hudson, you have Connor Roberts, and Daniel Cruz can be really, really good. He's still young at the position.
Yep. All right. This was a little bit of a surprise to me, too, Jerry. King Cook asks, how much does Trey Wisner weigh right now? I don't have that. Man, they handed out rosters yesterday, Jerry, and I didn't notice. I will just say this, okay? He looked, Trey has always been wiry, strong.
Right.
That makes sense. That's kind of his body type. He looked like he'd added a good 3 to 5 pounds of muscle mass. He looked the biggest he's ever been at Texas by far. He's definitely put on some good weight.
The weight on the roster for him is not correct. They still have him at 194 pounds. Tashard Choice said he was 202, 203 last year at the Arizona State game, and thought he would be 212, 213, 215 by the start of his junior season. So I don't think that roster weight is accurate.
All right. Brandon Huey wants us to talk a little bit about Parker Livingstone and what we saw from him yesterday, Jerry.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's not going to be the explosive guy off the line necessarily, but he's going to run. He is going to run routes. He is going to make difficult catches. He is going to make contested catches, and he is going to be a guy very similar to DeAndre Moore in this regard. We were told before the season last year that Quinn felt like Matthew Golden and DeAndre Moore, he can always trust they're going to be in the right spot. Parker Livingstone is going to be that guy. He's going to be in the right spot. When the ball is snapped, Arch Manning's going to know Parker Livingstone's going to run the route at the depth. He's going to read the coverage. He's going to be on the same page. And when he lets the ball go, he knows where that guy's going to be. He knows he's supposed to be he's going to be in the right place or the correct place. And I think that's what you get, but Parker Livingstone 6'4". I mean, and he has downfield speed. I'm not sure he's not an explosive, fast starter. It's more build-up speed, but he's got speed to get down the field.
That is a great way to put it. It's not that he's great quick off the line, but he has a little extra gear 25 yards in.
Yeah.
Right? He's a 200, 400 meter guy.
His stride will eat up turf over time.
Yes.
He will eat up cushion.
Yep. That's a great way to put it. I hadn't thought about it or commented on it that way, Jerry, but it's a great way to do it. Hey, this one from Trey Day. We haven't had a deep connection like Arch Wingo since Sims, Applewhite, and Roy Williams. Ooh.
That's a good point.
Roy Williams was more with that Sims, and Arch and Wingo. I was talking to somebody yesterday. If they can get it going, like I was trying to tell somebody, if they are just best friends for the next 24 months, they're going to both make a lot of money from that. If they just follow each other and, hey, I'm going to go to your house. Yeah, let's just go throw the ball.
Yeah.
If they can develop that kind of camaraderie or that kind of just intuitive sense of what's going on,
yeah,
they're going to make each other a ton of money.
No doubt.
Because they're both so talented. Let's end it with Arch Manning.
Hey, can I hit a couple of questions here, Bobby?
Yes, please.
Rob Hadaway says, any chance Trey Johnson comes back? No chance. Going to be a top 5 pick. He hasn't been in any of the meetings. He is off to the NBA. Top 7 pick. Sorry, I said top 5. Top 7 pick. Aaron Neal, this is a good question with all the Aaliyah Chavez to Oklahoma talk, because Texas signed one of the better women's basketball prospects in the country. What type of player is Aaliyah Krupp? What does she bring to the team next year? Aaliyah Krupp is a 6'1" guard. She's out of Minneapolis, Minnesota area. Played at Montverde this year. Oh, by the way, there's some huge high school basketball news in Texas. For those, we could talk about it on TexasFootball.com if we don't get to that. But David Peavy from Duncanville looks like he's headed to Montverde Academy as the head coach. So congrats to David Peavy. That's a massive hire. That's a massive job for David Peavy. But Aaliyah Krupp, 6'1" guard. She plays off the dribble going right or left. It's not like she has a super strong hand either way. She's a McDonald's All-American, top 10 prospect in the country, top 15, depending on your rankings. She shoots it well from the perimeter. She has good length, really good player. One of the better prospects that Vic Schaefer's recruited to Texas, and I have no doubt she will help the Texas team quite a bit next year. She's a very, very, very good signee for Vic Schaefer and the staff. Some people had her ranked top 5, top 10 early on in the class. I mean, she is a really talented player. She'll play in the WNBA one day if she stays healthy.
Okay. Good stuff, Jerry. Arch Manning, your thoughts on him? Because I took over and talked about him as his relationship with Ryan Wingo, et cetera. But what are your thoughts on Arch Manning as a whole and what you saw from him yesterday? And you can also talk about the quarterback room a little bit if you want to.
Yeah, listed at 222 pounds. I would say that's probably close to accurate. I think his frame is getting closer to being about where it's going to be. I mean, 225 is 227. Really comfortable. Look, we've heard, I mean, the guy's been waiting 2 years for this opportunity, and you knew he was going to be a vocal leader. Anybody that saw him in high school knew that. He had that quality about him. But I thought he looked tremendous, really comfortable yesterday, as you'd expect. And there was no real indecision yesterday in what we saw. He just looked comfortable. He looked excited for his opportunity. I think all 3 of the scholarship quarterbacks looked good yesterday. Trey Owens, the big arm, you can tell he's getting more comfortable at Texas. The longer he's been here, good downfield arm, really good intermediate arm. Then you had KJ Leslie, who has, I mean, man, these guys are former point guard. Those guys have really good feet at the quarterback position. And he had literally no indecisiveness, Bobby. I mean, he was confident. He was letting that thing rip. There was not a single time that I remember, and maybe I missed a rep because you're looking around the field. There wasn't a single time I saw A.J. Milwee or Sark say something to him like, all right, get it out on time. There was none of that in his first practice. I was like, that's really impressive because not many guys are like that. And again, he played for Jeff Kelly at Saraland, who's a former star quarterback at Southern Miss and played in the NFL, CFL. They run a lot of the same concepts Sark does. So he came to Texas with familiarity. He also trained with David Morris at QB Country, who we had on the show, who trains Arch as well. So he knows they've been taught the Sark system really well. But still, Bobby, when you come out there and there's no hesitation in your first practice, it's a pretty good sign of where you can go long term.
Yeah, that guy wrote in with a super chat here late. Arch's deep balls seem more crisp and on point than Quinn's did in Pro Day. I think we're definitely getting better QB play this year. I think you're going to get a better deep ball. We'll see if you get better QB play overall. That's just, look, Arch has to go get hit, and has to live through all of it. But I will say this: Arch throws a beautiful deep ball, Jerry.
Yeah.
I mean, I took a video of the one to Ryan Wingo at the back of the end zone. I mean, CJ had a video. I don't know if everybody's been able to see it. Hopefully they have. Here on one of our shows, threw one to Parker Livingstone that was just completely in stride at the corner of the end zone. That was a deep ball. Yes, guy. He throws a more deliberate deep ball, I think is the best way to put it, than Quinn. Will he be a better quarterback? Different conversation, because Quinn's seen a lot in his 3 years as a starter. at the University of Texas. All right, that's going to do it for today. We've got a couple of news and notes that I need to get out. But first, I want to say thank you again to our primary sponsor on Wednesdays, and that is our friend Adam Lowy over at the Lowy Law Firm. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind and think you might be due compensation, make sure you talk with Adam and his group at loweylawfirm.com. That's loweylawfirm.com. They'll give you a free, no strings attached consultation. Thank you, Adam, for your sponsorship of On Texas Football. Jerry, a couple notes as we leave here. I'm wanting to know if you see Sean Miller walk into the Moody behind you on the way. Let's just go make sure we see if he's there. Jerry's on campus right now. Freddie DeBose, by the way, the wide receiver out of Schertz Clemens, San Antonio, on Texas Football learning earlier today. He is no longer with the football team. So he is part of that 2024 class. That leaves Parker Livingstone, Ryan Wingo, and Aaron Butler as the remaining members of that 2024 recruiting class at wide receiver. Also, women's basketball this Saturday, the Texas Relays coming up this weekend as well. Jerry, you're going to be in town for that because from Jalen Lott and his high jump ability, everybody else going to be in there. Also, Texas has another viewing window tomorrow morning for spring practice. So hopefully we'll be able to get all this into you. A lot of stuff happening on the 40 acres. Fun time to be a Longhorn fan. For Jerry Hamilton, I'm Bobby Burton. This has been On Texas Football, Coffee and Football, Wednesday morning. Blake, I hope you're back next week, tomorrow, buddy, because I do not like hosting. Hook 'em.